Welcome to Natural Born Talents. Recently I've been getting a lot of questions on how many auras you have. Do they change in your lifetime? What's the benefit of knowing what aura you have? How do you learn to know what aura you have? And so on. I hope this video will explain most of those questions. I'll try to make a psychology test to accurately figure out which aura you belong to, or which auras I should say. It's rather complicated. There are many factors that go into auras. So with this video I'll try to explain the basics and later make a more comprehensive test for you to try to figure out what auras that you possess and what you can do with your life. Now, the first part is, I have this chart as you can see here. There are group A1, A2, B, C, and D. A1 is the raw physical group, the orange, the red, and the magenta. These auras interact with the environment pretty much head-on. Although the magenta is a very creative aura and is more into the fashionable, artistic aspects of the physical reality, the other two are more in the challenges of it. Group A2 is similar to Group A1, but their connection to the physical reality is somewhat more biochemical, so their reaction to the physical world is slightly different and sometimes difficult to tell them apart. Group B is the logical group. These are the people who usually are in their heads most of the time thinking out equations and scenarios and finances and these things. There is also a specific combination of colors that create a specific personality. The red tan, as well as the red blue and the red green, these are considered one aura, not an overlay. And the reason for this is because they have a very specific personality, whereas let's say you have a yellow with a blue overlay, that's something else. I'll explain as we go along. And the next group you can see is the emotional group, the Saint Soul, the blue, the violet, and the last group is called the D group. There is the spiritual group. This group really gives a lot of time thinking about esoteric things, healing people, or basically are just very evolved humans. Now, to the right of that is this very simple drawing of the aura, and it doesn't really quite illustrate what I'm trying to point out, because if you have any one of these auras, A1, A2, B, or C, or D, your primary aura is going to be very close to your body. So if you look at this illustration, you see that sort of purple lavender color there. That would be considered their first aura. The second aura would be the green aura. You see, aura that as you grow older starts to influence you in another way. And the last aura, the orange on the outside, that's going to change depending upon how you feel, and it's what Killian photography usually picks up, not the first two, in my experience. That may not be the case for other people. Having said that, so why don't auras change? Well, they do, but the basic auras, the primary and the secondary auras, the first two, don't really change much. They will expand when you're doing good, when you're doing the right thing in your life. They start to get bigger and stronger. The more that you grow spiritually, and I don't mean to get in some sort of like cosmic, universal kind of conversation of spirituality, it means it's simply that your psyche is beginning to expand. You see more, you grow more, you understand more about yourself and the things around you. Your aura will also expand. If you're an egotist, on the other hand, or a negative person, your aura will get very, very small and will not expand. So the second aura, your secondary aura, will have very little influence on your life, because basically what you will have over your aura is this thing called ego, which is going to pretty much run your life, and aura has less of a meaning. It doesn't mean that you can't see the aura with somebody with ego. It's just much harder, because egotists tend to be very basic in their thinking. They seem to be clever and they seem to be powerful, but in reality they're very weak. It's actually masking what their true purpose in life, what was supposed to be, and they opted for ego over achieving their aura's goals, which is very unfortunate. However, that's the world we live in at this time. Now, I'm making another video on ego and how all that works later. Now, let's get back to auras. So basically, what your aura is like putting on a shirt for life. One on the inside and one on the outside. And the first one's going to pretty much tell you, it's like a DNA code of all your skills and weak points. As you go through life, you will see that like some auras are very good in the physical world. They're very good at sports, but they're not good at intellectual things, and vice versa. Well, that's the whole thing. You may want to be a professional sports player and occasionally entertain your intellect with something else to improve your mental capacity, but really you came in this world to be a basketball player, for example. And vice versa, you have people who came into this world to tinker and create new gadgets and things, but feel like sometimes they want to get outside and go biking or water skiing just to get away from the mental activity. So again, we all trying to balance each other through auras, and balance your own psyche through auras. And people who catch on to this really can let go of a lot of things that are holding them down and discover what their real talents and real purpose is. And it makes life a hell of a lot more fun than having your purpose diverted by an egotist in your life. And this is what is actually what I see to be one of the biggest problems in life today, is I see a lot of people are not really fulfilling their purpose in life, and so they're getting very hateful and negative towards everyone and creating all kinds of havoc out in the world. And this is totally unnecessary. But again, everybody has the free will to make their own choices, so there's nothing I can say more about that. Now, to find out which aura you are, I will make a test later, but you can kind of guess it. And the way to do this is basically figure out, are you a physically active person? And do you react to the environment in your world a lot and just sort of like go straight through life, running rush out of other people's emotions at times? Then you're more likely in the group A1 or A2. Or are you one of these mentalists who love to tinker with ideas and gadgets and computers and all the technology in the world? You're probably in group B. If you're in group C, you're more likely willing to help other people. You're very emotional. Or, like for the violet, for example, you don't like expressing your emotions and you hide them. That's actually your Achilles heel, but have powerful leadership skills. Or are you these people like me who like to go around helping and healing other people in another way through the spiritual group of the lavender, crystal, and indigo auras? Having said that, if you don't know, you could always contact me with a little bit of information about yourself, and I pretty much can pinpoint anyone down within a very short time. So if you have any questions, please leave in the comment section below. Now, getting back to the combination of auras, as you can see, there are so many different auras. You can have a combination of any one of these. So you basically have 14 times 14. But even then, there are some exceptions to that. So I've seen some people with 3 auras that influence their personality type. And that's very rare, but it's not impossible. Conversely, I've seen some people, a few people in my life, who have only one basic aura and no secondary or third auras, except for the emotional auras that they change on a daily basis. So again, auras are extremely complicated. There's no one single pattern. And what a lot of people fear is like, oh, if we have the same aura as another person, are we exactly the same? Absolutely not. Just because 2 people have the same basic aura does not mean they have the same personality completely. They have basic personality traits and that are the same, but beyond that, the two individuals, when I see two individuals, for example, who have the same aura, exactly the same pattern, there's other things influencing them: their culture, their parents, their environment, their path in life, their soul, the experience of their soul, for example. It could be vastly different. So a lot of people fear, oh, we have the same aura, we must be the same, I must have a twin. And they get into this weird complex. I've never seen that. I've seen similar patterns in every single person who have similar auras, but I've never seen them exactly the same. The other exception being a doppelganger or clone soul. That requires another video in itself. And that's the key to this thing. That's why I don't like to teach auras so much sometimes, because people start to use them as information to judge or manipulate people, and I've seen that happen too. So I ask people not to do that and just understand and appreciate people for what they are. Now, the exception to this, again, there's always an exception to everything, is the weaker souls, the egotists and the sycophants to egos. These people are followers to very corrupt behavior, and this is when the aura really starts to shrink, and they're being used, they allow them to be used, they don't struggle getting past being used, and so on and so forth. So the aura really is difficult to read or to see or to even photograph. Those are the people that tend to be in trouble. The other great thing about auras is that if you know your aura and your partner's aura, you can make decisions on whether or not you are going to make it as a couple, whether you need to move on, whether it's just going to be impossible or you just need a little bit more effort. Some auras match up very well. Some are downright explosive. It just won't work. For example, would be the orange having a relationship with a violet. Their egos are both too strong, and this combination would never work. But on the other hand, you could have the A2 group, the happy-go-lucky yellow, easily get along with a blue in the C group. And so it really doesn't matter what hemisphere you're in, it's just whether the combination, the balance of the two auras works well or not. And it's sometimes very surprising that some auras match well with others that you'd never think that they would, but they do. Okay, that's it for this basic understanding of auras. If you have any more questions, please put in the comment section below, and I'll make a more in-depth video on this. Thanks again for listening, and hope to hear from you soon. If you would like to support this channel, really the best way to do that is, well, why don't you come on and have a counseling session with me, and I can tell you pretty much about you and a loved one. Or if you have children, you could buy one of the children's books that I make. I'm working on some more as we talk on more about auras and many of the other things that I see in this world. You could also, if you'd like, buy one of the artworks, t-shirts, mugs, or anything that I have listed below. But in any case, thanks again. And we'll see you on the next video.